Hello and welcome back to the channel, Making a Brewery, episode number 8, I believe. So some updates for you. So we are still making a brewery. However, we won't be making a brewery in this location. So I guess I mentioned on a previous episode that I had a feeling that we may encounter some issues because of this location being in a special area of conservation, with us being beside the lake. So planning come back to me about a week ago, and essentially what they're looking for is environmental reports. I know I'm probably going to need to upgrade the septic tank to make it in line with what they would need. So ultimately that's probably going to cost me in the guts of 15 grand to change the septic tank into one that would be acceptable for discharge of commercial waste, essentially, from a brewery. Plus the environmental reports, and on top of that, obviously the 7 grand that would cost for getting the 3-phase power in, plus the extras to get an electrician to hook this place up after the 3-phase power is in as well. So we're looking at the guts of about 25 grand to ensure that this place would be able to facilitate a brewery. And even then, I'm not guaranteed to get planning permission. So that's just what they would need to see to kind of further the application, but they still could decide not to give me planning permission. So with that all in mind, I've decided to pull the plug on, not the project, but pull the plug on essentially using this place as the brewery, which is a bit of a disappointment. This whole process for me started in January of this year. We're now at the tail end of June, so 6 months in, and I'm back to square one, essentially. Well, not exactly square one, I guess. I do have the equipment, and but all of the initial planning around using this place, not having rent to pay, all of the benefits, essentially, of having this as my location, we're back to square one on that. So it's not all doom and gloom. So you may recall on a previous episode, I'm not really sure which one it was, maybe around episode 5 or so, where I had visited the local railway station, which had some space down there, which was essentially derelict for a number of years. What I didn't show on that video, I think I showed the initial inside of the building and the kind of big space in there, but there's also a separate area of that building, and I'll pop a photograph up on the screen now. So essentially this separate part was originally earmarked as the toilet area, essentially, or kind of a reception area and toilet area, but it's quite a big part of the building, and ultimately that part of the building is bigger than my garage, and it does have its own separate entrance as well. So it got me thinking that rather than taking on that whole building, which needs an awful lot of work, I could potentially go back again and look at just that section of the building. The last time I was there, it was quite dark, so I didn't get a good look of it. But I do know it's quite a big area, and although it was earmarked for toilets, there's no toilets in there at the moment. That was just the section of the building that they had intended to use as the toilet area. So you would imagine that there's some level of plumbing in there already, drainage, and maybe I just need to get some electricity into there or something along those lines. So I spoke with the guy from the community organisation. I'm not sure if he's the treasurer or he's essentially the guy who was the architect for submitting the plans for this garage to get planning permission, but he's one of the treasurers or something to do with the community association which owns those buildings. So I've asked him about it, and he said he'd come back to me next week. We're going to view the place again, and he said he would need to speak to the committee and see. Essentially the way I pitched it to them was, if I could pay them some rent, essentially the rent I'm paying them could go to the upkeep of the building, and they can incrementally improve the building over time, with a view to ultimately maybe we could expand into that bigger space eventually, in a few years' time, and put a tap room in there or something along those lines. So he seems okay with the idea, the initial idea, and we've agreed to view and have a further discussion about it. In other news as well, I approached the local enterprise office. So for those of you watching not in Ireland, every county in Ireland has what's called a local enterprise office, or LEO for short. And they offer a number of different supports, business grants, etc. So I went to one of their lunch and learns last week, spoke to some representatives there, and we agreed that I would be a good candidate for business mentoring. So we applied to have a mentor assigned to us. That's been assigned. He hasn't been in touch yet, but I think he should be in touch in the next couple of days. And essentially, he'll help with the setting up of the business, give me some advice on what grants may be available. I found an interesting piece of information at that lunch and learn that they'll actually support you with rent costs and overheads within the first year of a business as well. So that could be something that I can draw on, so it won't be too much of a drain on me in year one while I'm setting up the business. I'll get some level of support with rent and overheads. So yeah, looking forward to engaging with the local enterprise office and the mentor there. But ultimately, the next step for me is trying to find the location. Whether it's the railway station or not, I need to go out and find somewhere to rent. Everywhere is quite expensive. Well, I guess it's the going rate, but for me, as a startup and trying to kind of keep costs to a minimum, the railway station potentially looks like the best option. But if that doesn't work out, I'll have to find somewhere else. I would like to keep it in the local area, but doesn't seem to be a lot of places available in the local area. So yeah, hopefully the railway station is a goer. But I'll hopefully get a video up when I visit again, and I can show you what that space looks like, and get a better idea of whether it'll be suitable or not. So yeah, that's kind of where we're at in terms of the general updates. The reason I'm in the brewery today is I'm going to do some... I've been doing a lot of pilot brewing for the various beers that I think that I am going to be producing. So obviously the Irish Lager, the Stout, a Pale Ale, and also as well, I'm looking at a potential Red Ale as well that I have in keg at the moment, carbonating up. But definitely the first three, the Lager, the Stout, and the Pale Ale, will be my core range, and I'll maybe add a Red Ale into that as well. So yeah, the reason I'm in here today is I'm going to be bottling the Lager. I have it in keg the last week. It's I can just see there's a fly climbing all over the screen at the moment, or in front of the camera. So yeah, I'm going to be bottling the Lager, and maybe sampling one or two of the beers that I have in keg and in bottles as well. So I'll talk a little bit about that. So yeah, let's I want to show you what my bottling setup is like, because I probably intend on using this small scale bottling setup in the actual brewery, because I found a nice system with these Boel taps, they're called, and if I run 2 or 3 of them at one time, which is possible, it's a much more cost effective option than getting kind of a custom 4-head bottle filler, which can cost a couple of grand, maybe 2 to 3 grand. So this is a really cost effective option. So I'll show you what that looks like. I'll show you what I'm bottling on a kind of homebrew level at the moment, and then hopefully it's something that I may be able to transfer to the commercial setup eventually. Time will tell on that, I guess. So yeah, let me show you what the setup looks like for the bottle. So I guess anybody who's ever homebrewed beer will tell you that one of the worst parts of brewing beer is the bottling, and that's why a lot of people will switch over to kegging. I actually don't mind bottling too much. I like the process, and I always think it's nice to actually have a beer out of a bottle. I even prefer it over cans. I like a nice bottle of beer. Always nice to have stuff out of keg as well, but yeah, I don't mind the process too much in terms of bottling my beer. So I've got 5 litres here of Oro water, which I'm going to put my Star San, or Chem Pro San as this one's called. I'm just looking for how much I need to put in here. So it's about 10 mils. Sorry, the reason why I'm looking at the wall there is I have all of my different dosage rates on the wall, which is very handy as part of my wall of wisdom. So 10 mils of Chem Pro San into 5 litres of water. Gives me the adequate Chem Pro San, same thing. The adequate solution that I need, and then obviously I need to wash these bottles or sanitize the bottles as opposed to wash them. So I'm just going to pour a bit of that solution into my bottle washer. Put that aside. So I can use the other kind of 4 litres or so of that solution for cleaning up or sanitizing things around the brewery. I'll pop some of it into empty bottles that I have later for spraying. So the initial process obviously is the sanitizing of the bottles. I normally give it about 4 or 5 shoots of that, and I also kind of sanitize the lid area as well, and then let those drain off. So today I'm going to be probably bottling about 10 litres of lager, which is approximately 30 of these 33 CL bottles. Previously I have been doing a lot of bottling with 500ml bottles, but I'm finding obviously I'm not getting as many bottles to give out to people. Obviously I like to share my beers and get some feedback on them. So obviously when you're doing 500ml bottles, you're getting less bottles from a 19-litre keg and less bottles to give out to people. So I'm kind of reverting back to the 33 CL bottles now, just so I can give more of them out to people and I have a little bit more to share around. Once I'm at a production level or commercial level, I think we will go with 500ml bottles. That will be our standard, but I think just for the moment, while we're in that initial pilot brewing phase and sharing the beers around, I'll go with the smaller bottles. So this part of the bottling obviously is a little bit tedious, as anybody will tell you. I think once I move on to, if I'm going to do something similar to this in a commercial setup, I will move on to getting a couple of these so I can sanitize 2 of them at the same time, put them onto the draining rack, and then I will show you a little bit later what it looks like to do filling the bottles from the Boel taps 2 at a time, which speeds up the process massively. So yeah, I won't bore you anymore with the sanitizing of these bottles, but let me get these done, and then we'll come back in a second when I'm ready to start bottling some of these. So yeah. Okay, so the first stage here is obviously I've sanitized all those bottles. I've hooked up the gas bottle here. Essentially everything is hooked up behind this, so my line that will connect to the keg, my beer line essentially is here, and also my gas line as well for purging the bottles as well. But first things first, before we start doing the bottles, I'm going to just give the system a quick push through of sanitizer, so that we're kind of pretty sure that everything's clean in the lines. So just let me grab one of the bottles here. This is a pre-sanitized bottle, but just to show you how this works. So we put the bottle in here, we tighten it, and then we can purge. So essentially by pressing that button, we're purging, and then we can loosen this release valve here, which allows the purged gas to escape from the bottle. So essentially you want to pressurize these bottles, and then I'm just going to loosen it ever so slightly. We release the tap, and I don't know whether you can see that actually. Let me turn on the light. Essentially the liquid cascades down the sides of the bottle and fills to the brim. So I'm going to let that run all the way through, because there is a dump valve here as well, which I'll let some of that sanitizer get up and into as well. And once you're finished, you just knock it off again, and then you release your bottle and put your cap on. So let me just pour some of that sanitizer in here, and do one over this side. So again, we purge, release, purge again, and then again. Let me just turn on the light, you can probably see there. Let's zoom in ever so slightly. Yeah, so obviously you would be monitoring this, that it doesn't go too far up to the top when you're filling it with actual beer, but because this is just sanitizer, I'll let that run through the lines. So hopefully you can see it a little bit better this way. We lock the 2 bottles in. We're going to just seal up the release ports here. We're going to purge those bottles, just release ever so slightly, so let some gas or CO2 out of the bottles. And then we're going to release. Oh, that's way too fast. We're going to close that and release. And again, that's way too fast. So we're just going to slow it down. Probably slow this one down a little bit too much. So these ones are a little bit too foamy. The first ones to come out, but we'll just, this is not the best effort because I let them come out a little bit too fast to start with. But essentially the waste here will just purge out of the line and into a little bucket I have behind this door here. But I'll let them fill up to a reasonable level with liquid and no foam, and then I'll cap them both. It's normally typically a lot faster than this to get them filled, but I just want to demonstrate. So once we're finished and have them up to a reasonable level, knock them off, let them just self-pressurize or equalize, I think is the word, and then you'll hear this hiss as I open. You're going to be capping directly onto the foam here, so no oxygen ingress into that bottle. And likewise with this one, again, capping on foam, so no oxygen ingress on that as well. So yeah, that's the first 2 bottles done. Let me just see, can we do 2 more a little bit faster and effectively? So hopefully this attempt will be a little bit better than the last one. Just open those. Just going to purge them ever so lightly and start. Yeah, these ones are filling much better. Not as much foam on these ones, and really, really fast as well. And again, we're just capping directly onto the foam, so we don't have any oxygen ingress in here. Now typically I can do this a lot faster. I just need to dial it in a little bit, make sure that we are getting as little foam as possible as we're filling the bottles. So it's just the first few bottles. Normally it takes a little bit of time to dial it in, but once we have that done, we're filling 2 at a time. Oh, that's not sealed, so that's why we were. Just let them out. Quick purges, and then so that's it. That's hopefully how I'm going to set up my bottling system commercially, if I can work out how to dial it in and do it really fast. Alright, I've really got it dialed in now, so I can show you how this works in a much more effective way. Just give them a bit of a purge, let them kind of express that oxygen that was in the bottle, give them a purge again. So these are just, the release ports are ever so slightly open. So as I'm pumping the CO2 in there, it's equalizing, and you can see now that they're filling really, really slow, but this means that I'm not getting much foam. So when it gets to the top, which I'll show you in a moment, I can seal them and just cap them on the foam, which comes right up to the top here. So it's a really effective way. This is a little bit slower than normal, but this beer is highly carbonated lager, so just need to be that little bit extra slower with it to stop the foaming in the bottle. So you can see with this one here, we're just about to get to the top. It's filling up now, so if I knock that off, it equalizes here, and then you'll hear the hiss, or potentially hear the hiss, yeah. And then we, as I said, cap on foam. Oh, just turn that one off. So the real beauty of these is you really minimize waste, because you don't lose too much in terms of the foam coming out at the top of the bottle going into the drip bottle that I have, or drip bucket behind. You lose very, very minimal amounts of beer when kegging. So really, really nice system. Of course, the absolute joy of bottling beer is that you get to sample one at the end of it. So this is my Irish lager, McCree Irish lager. I've been kind of trying to perfect this over the last number of weeks. It's basically 100% Pilsner malt. There is some Magnum as the bittering hop, and some Mittelfrau in there as well. And then to give it that extra little bit of IBUs, I'm using Tetra hop. And I think with this batch, I actually added in slightly too much Tetra hop. So Tetra hop adds in some IBUs, but it also contributes to persistent head on the beer, or foam. And I've noticed with this beer, the head on the beers is fairly consistent, and a little bit over the top as well. So I think I might have overdosed. I think I nearly doubled the dose of Tetra hop by accident. I was, sometimes these things happen. It has contributed to an ever so slightly bittering effect on the finished beer, which is not bad, but I think I'll just tone it back next time to ensure that it's on point. So you can see, obviously, a good, solid, consistent head on that one. It's nicely carbonated as well. Yeah, it's a really nice beer. It actually won an award a few weeks ago, Homebrew Award. Garden County Brewers in Ireland, which are based out of Wicklow in Ireland, ran a competition for summer style beers, and this beer was up against 39 other beers and came third, or bronze, in best of show, essentially, for all the other beers that were on show that day. So really decent beer. Certainly smells like a lager. Yeah, nice, refreshing, crisp summer beer, I would call that, like summer lager, crisp and refreshing. As I said, ever so slightly just on the a touch too bitter for my liking. I'll just dial back the Tetra hop next time, make sure I dose it correctly, and I think it'll be spot on point. So yeah, this is going to be the beer that I launched the brewery with, the McCree Irish Lager. I'm playing around with it ever so slightly. As I said, I'm not going to change the recipe. The recipe doesn't need to be changed. I think I have it on point. It's a really good beer. But what I am going to do for the next batch of it, I want it to be as, I'm calling it an Irish lager, I want it to be as Irish as possible. So this version of it is not very Irish in the sense that the hops are German, the malt is British, the yeast is German, and well, the water is Irish, I guess, and the water makes up 95% of it. However, the next time I brew this, I'm going to just slightly change things in terms of where I source my malt. I'm going to go with Minch malt, which is an Irish producer, and they do a lager malt. So I'm going to use that next time. And I'm also going to go with WHC Labs. They're an Irish yeast producer, and I'm going to go with their, I think it's their Einstein yeast, which I think is more or less the same Weihenstephan strain as the 3470, which I'm currently using on this one. So it'll just make it that extra little bit Irish, having the Irish malt, having the Irish yeast in there as well, even though it's a German strain of yeast, but it's produced in Ireland. So it will be a verifiable 3 of the 4 ingredients, i.e. the malt, the yeast and the water, will be coming from Ireland, and then the hops obviously from Germany as well. But yeah, really happy with that. You know, really great head retention, good colour on there, great clarity. Really, really nice lager. So let me finish this, and then I'm gonna try another one of my beers. So I have the red ale on keg at the moment. It's carbonating up. So I don't think it's fully carb. Well, it's definitely not fully carb actually. But I'll just pull a sample of that and just give it a taste. So let me do that now. So this is my Irish red ale. Probably looks quite dark on the screen, but I can assure you it is deep red. If it's held up to the light, actually, let me get the phone out there so you can see. It's not fully carbonated yet, but again, it's holding a very, very good head. And again, that comes down to adding a little bit of tetra hop in there, just to add to the bitterness, but also to aid that head retention. So although that looks like a highly carbonated beer because there's a really good head in it, it's actually it's not carbonated at all. It's probably only been on there for a couple of days. So, oh, that's lovely. Yeah, I designed this beer to be really kind of on the malty caramel toffee side. That's what I was aiming for. And it definitely gets that on the aroma. Oh, that's delicious. Yeah, that's really caramelly beer. So that's going to be called Rua, which is Gaelic for red. So Rua Irish Red Ale. And that's really good. I'm very, very happy with that. I originally hadn't planned on including this in my initial core range, but I just, I was playing around recently, decided to test it out and see could I perfect it essentially and get it to where I wanted it. I've been brewing red ales for a long time and producing various results in there, but this one I'm really, really happy with. So probably add it to the core range alongside the lager and the pale ale and the stout as well. So yeah, I'll let me finish these 2 beers and then I'll move on to the pale ale and I'll test that out. But yeah, really, really good. So that's all the bottling done. I obviously finished those couple of beers and I had a couple more bottles to finish up on. So I think I ended up with approximately 24 plus 6 is 30, about 32 bottles. Now obviously I'd been that was a 19-litre corny keg, so I'd had a few off the tap, testing it while it was carbonating, etc. So yeah, that's the bottling day done. I'm not finished here in the brewery today. I still need to keg a hors d'oeuvre Irish stout. That's in the keg at the moment, or sorry, it's in the fermenter at the moment. It's finished. It's ready to go into keg. But I think I just need to clean the keg and sanitize the keg and get that ready to go. But before all of that, I'm going to have a sample of my pale ale. So I'm not sure if you can see there, but it's called Lan Eadrum West Cavan Pale Ale. That's just some kind of labels I've been designing myself. I will need to improve upon those ever so slightly, but it's just the initial concept with the logo on them and the name and some other information on there. So the West Cavan Pale Ale, it's somewhat of a West Coast Pale Ale. American hops, 80% Pilsner malt, 20% Vienna, The hops that are in there are Simcoe and the bittering hop is Magnum. The Whirlpool hops are Simcoe and Sentinel, I believe, and the dry hop in there is Chinook. So yeah, it's a really, really nice beer. The only thing it's lacking, I feel, which I'll be able to solve, is it's not retaining its head as much as I want to. So there is a nice head in it, don't get me wrong, but it's not persistent. So there you go. So don't get me wrong, there is a nice head on that. It's a beautiful tropical aroma off that. So yeah, the head doesn't stay on there. So I know by potentially removing some of the bittering hops and adding the IBUs in with Tetra hop. For those of you who don't know what Tetra hop is, I know I mentioned it a moment ago on those two other beers. So Tetra hop, as far as I understand it, it's a liquefied form of hop extract, which it adds in IBUs and it helps with foam as well, are two of the key things. And you add that in post fermentation. Generally, when you're transferring into your bright beer tank or into your keg, you would add some Tetra hop. So to give you an example of dosage on Tetra hop, you're talking for a homebrew level batch like of 23 liters, you're talking probably around 1.5 mils of Tetra hop adds in. Actually 1.2 mils adds in 4 IBUs of bitterness. So you can scale that up ever so slightly if you're looking for more, but it does help with head retention and gives a nice kind of lacing on the glass as well. So I might try that out with my West Cavan Pale Ale. But as I mentioned, beautiful tropical aromas off this one. A little bit piney. I wouldn't say it's a classic West Coast Pale Ale. The hops are a little bit more tropical, but definitely has some characteristics of a West Coast Pale Ale. Yeah, it's a lovely, refreshing summer beer again. It's a very kind of sessionable beer. You want more. It's really, really nice. You could drink a lot of them, which I'm hoping people will, obviously. But yeah, really, really good sessionable pale ale. Beautiful hop aroma, which carries through. On the taste. So yeah, really, really pleased with that. So yeah, the only thing I would change on there is potentially adding some Tetra hop in just to aid with the head retention. The head retention is not bad, as I said, but I just like a little bit more foam on there. But the recipe in and of itself is solid. It's a really nice tasting beer. So that will form part of the core range as well. So yeah, so that's 3 of the core range I've tasted today. The only one I haven't tasted today is obviously the Hors d'oeuvre Irish Stout, which is in the fermenter at the moment. So I'll be able to have some samples of that ready in about a week's time. So yeah, that's me for today. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed today's video, please do hit the like button. If you haven't already subscribed to the channel, please do so. It helps me and helps others see these videos, so I'd appreciate if you could subscribe to the channel. Any comments or feedback on the videos, what you would like to see, please do let me know in the comment section. I'd love to hear from you on how we can improve the channel as we go. Hopefully the next time we're catching up on the next video, I'll be able to show you some footage from the new potential location that we're going to look at in the next week or so up at the old railway station in Belturbet. So yeah, thanks so much for watching and have a great day. Cheers.